What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Justin Rodriguez, your favorite lender here at Neighborhood Loans, and we're back with another episode of Cafecito Talks, and we're super excited to bring on the two guests that we have right now because my wise mentor once told me, if you fly with eagles, you'll eventually become one, and these two individuals are the biggest individuals, and I'm super ecstatic to have them on here. I'm proud to present Emma Butler, our number one producer in our Chicago North office, and then Tommy Choi, obviously one of the biggest agents in Chicago. So It's an honor to have you guys, and if you guys don't mind, break it down how you guys, your little journey up over with everything.
Why don't you start?
Thanks for having us. First of all, where's the Cafecito? Man?
I know, man. I came late. Always come 15 minutes early so you can prepare for things like this. But
don't worry, I'm drinking our really bad office coffee.
There you go. I got some water today, so.
So all right, what do you want? What do you want us to get into?
I think it's just more so kind of touching based on your guys' journey. What was the climb? How you guys got to where you're at? Because it's very interesting on how, beginning to end, on how people got to where they're at right now. So.
So for me, I'll actually kick it back to college days. We were talking about college earlier.
Yeah.
I'm a second generation in this country. So my folks, they immigrated here in the 70s from South Korea to the north side of the city, Irving Park and Lincoln and Berthoud to be specific. But, my dad, the night before I left to go to college with the Bradley University, shout out to Bradley, he sat me down. He wanted to be like, hey, I want to have an expectations talk with you. And he's like, your mom and I, we came to this country with nothing. And, we wanted opportunity. And one of the biggest opportunities for us was to be able to provide our kid with college education. So I'm like, I know, thank you, right? They work hard, appreciate you being able to do this, right? And he's just like, but I'm like, I want to set some guidelines, right? Fair, right? He's like, you got to do it in 4 years because I don't have money for a fifth year, right? No victory lap, right? Do it in 4 years and be done. I'm like, that's easy. 2, he's like, I don't expect you to learn anything in the classroom. I don't care about that. I don't care about your grades. Doesn't matter to me. And this is this is when I started tilt my head because it was very unlike what my upbringing was and very opposite of the brand of a Korean parent, right? That was school, grades, focus, right? He was like, what I need you to figure out in these 4 years, you're going to this place, Peoria, Illinois. You're going to meet people from different walks of life, right? He's like, you're going to meet people that grew up on farms that didn't even have a McDonald's or a Starbucks in their town, right? You're going to meet international students who, just like we did, came to this country to seek out the greatest education that they could find to set themselves up for success later. You're going to meet people who have never met a Korean person in their life. And in that group, there's going to be some people who accept that, come from curiosity, want to learn more about our culture, ask questions, and really embrace that. And he said there's going to be other people that don't want anything to do with you. They don't accept the differences, and they're going to look at you as you're inferior to them. And he said, what I need you to do in 4 years is no matter what side of the fence these people lay on, you need to figure out how to become friends with them. And I was 18, and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I literally was like, what the? Okay. Sure, Dad. Thank you. Fast forward, right? 4 years later, it's 2 weeks about to graduate from college. And I was living in this off-campus house with 6 of my best friends, right? We only have 4 bedrooms, by the way, so you go figure how that worked. So every day, right, I would get knock on the door, and someone would be delivering something. It'd be flowers one day, right? Next day would be a cookie basket. Next day would be a fruit bouquet. All of my roommates were getting showered with gifts from their parents, right? Congratulations, you did it, son, blah, 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 right? And I'm looking at all this stuff, and I'm just dude, where's my gratitude, right? I'm looking at the cookies, the flowers, right? The fruit basket, although I'm that's what white people do, send each other fruit. Koreans don't send each other fruit, but I was just pissed. It just so happened that day I also got a job offer from a Fortune 100 company, CDW, right? It was like a tech reseller. And I remember getting that in the mail, a letter, right? That was back in the day when people would correspond via mail. And I picked up the phone, landline, called my dad. I was like, hey, guess what? He's like, what? I got a job today. And he was just like, oh, that's great, right? I'm like, okay, this is what I want. The respect, right? A little bit of gratitude for me working my butt off the last 4 years. Then that pause ended. And my dad finished his sentence. He's like, oh, that's great. Now you'll know what it's like to work for someone else. And I saw red. I was just like, man, this piece of shit. Like, he doesn't even know, right? And I'm like, Dad, this is 2003, right? It was a bad job recession at the time. I'm like, this is like a bad recession right now. My friends, none of them have jobs. They're going to law school, not because they want to be a lawyer, right? Because they don't know what else to do. And the other half are going to get their MBA. Not because they want their master's, but because they just don't know what else to do right now. I'm going to be tax paying, making money. I got a job. And he's like, that's great. Now you're going to know what it's like to work hard for someone else. I literally hung up the phone on him. Okay. So fast forward 4 years later, I'm at CDW. It was the last day of the month in February, 2006. 10 South Riverside, right across the street from the Lyric Opera House and the Mercantile Exchange. I'm the last person in the office that day, okay? Because CDW, they said, if you made 100 cold calls a day for 3 years straight, you will make a six-figure income, right? I did it. I made 130 cold calls a day to state and local government, healthcare IT directors, okay? No offense to any IT directors out there, but that was like I went to the DMV 130 times a day. It was terrible. Like, I would get hung up on. People like talk trash to me, but it was awesome.
Good
I
practice.
grew thick skin, right?
Yeah.
Rejection was even a thing for me. I did X, Y, and Z. 3 years in, I was making $120,000. I was like 24 years old. Bought a condo in Lakeview, 932 West Barry and Sheffield, and I was like king of the world, right? That last day of the month in February, I was there because this was the biggest month of my career. I was getting paid 30 grand, okay? Still a lot of money today, right? And I wanted to see it. So I stayed in the cubicle, right? Lights shut off. It's like 7 p.m. I'm at my computer, and this is like the old CRT monitors, the big ass monitors. I'm hitting Shift F5, refreshing my screen, wanting to see it. Finally hits 30 grand. I remember staring at this thing and thinking, like, man, I thought this moment was gonna be cooler, right? As I'm reflecting, looking at my screen, I catch something out of the corner of my eye, all right? And it was my goal. Right, it was $300,000 in gross profit, GP. I had to sell, and I got 10% rip off that. And I'm thinking like, okay, I made 30 grand, made the company 270K. That didn't bother me, right? Because they gave me a nice office downtown, book of business to call, right? They gave me infrastructure. What bothered me though was next to that was a calendar. And in the calendar, I would chunk down my goals every day, how much I needed to sell in order to hit my goal, right? And every day I hit it, I put an X through that date. So I'm looking in my cubicle and all these X's, and then about halfway through the month, I start to notice things behind the X's, okay? The biggest thing that stood out to me was Jimmy's birthday. Jimmy's like my best friend since third grade, okay? Fast forward, he would be best man in my wedding. He'd be the godfather to one of my daughters, right? This is my guy, my day one. I remember thinking like, holy crap, it was his birthday? And I don't even remember like calling him to say happy birthday, let alone like back then, right? You pay $20 for a wristband, all you can drink, right? Like at some bar in Lincoln Park, Kincaid's. I don't remember doing that. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Then I started to realize all these other friend events, family events, I had totally neglected because I was so focused on making money, right? My definition of success in my 20s was what my W-2 said at the end of the year. And I had this flashback montage moment of all these weird conversations with my dad, right, throughout the years. And it hit me. My dad had empowered me and planted the seed to figure out how to build relationships. And I became obsessed with it, and I was good at it. And in a moment of 3 years, 4 years in my corporate world, I completely neglected all of that my dad taught me to focus on. All these relationships I built, I neglected because I was so focused on making money, because I thought that would bring me happiness. And I had this like moment where I'm just like, holy crap. I called my dad. I'm like crying to him. I'm like, you were right, right? He's like, what's wrong? What's going on, right? And I told him, I'm like, man, I'm a dumbass. I should have listened to you, blah, blah, blah. I told him everything I was feeling, everything was going wrong. And I remember in that moment at the end, he said, what are you going to do about this? And I was so afraid to hang up the phone, because I knew as soon as I hung up, I had to do something. Hung up that phone. What I wanted to do, this is what I shared the story. I realized in that moment, okay, I saw a flash of success financially, right? 25 years old, making $125K, had a condo, and I was miserable. Every morning, the first thought in my head at that time was like, what day of the week is it, and how many days till Friday, right? I was literally living for the weekend. So I knew my next move I was going to do had to bring me happiness first. And people are always like, real estate brings you happiness? No. Real estate is a stage. It's a platform that I stand on. And when I'm on that stage, what I get to perform for my audience is what my dad empowered me to do the night before I went to college, is curate and cultivate relationships with people, right? Figure out ways to solve other people's problems. That's what literally brings me joy every single day. And real estate is one of the greatest platforms and the greatest industries where you have, as a real estate agent or as a loan officer, you have the opportunity to make that kind of impact, right? And build these relationships and cultivate them, bring joy, right? And the cool thing is, as I found this joy and happiness, the money and the financial stuff, they follow, right? So it's a win-win. So that's my long-winded story of like how I got to where I am and why I'm so grateful for this industry and how much it's provided.
No, and I absolutely love everything that you said, because I feel like a lot of the things in life are cliche, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, money doesn't buy you happiness. You hear all these terms,
Right.
and you hear a lot of things that you're like, okay, well, everyone says it, so you don't know. But until you have that life experience yourself, you don't realize those things actually apply in your life. It's one of those things where, come on, Dad, I've already heard this. Like,
Right.
why you gotta tell me this again? Like, I'm just trying to live life. Let me live. And then you experience it, and it takes you a step back, and you kind of reflect on everything. And one thing that you said that I loved was, you guys came from a whole nother world, whole nother country. And Emma, that's one thing I love about your story, is you have a very similar background. And one thing all of us kind of share in common, not me personally, but my family came from a whole nother country, and they grew something from nothing.
Yep.
You know, and I think there's a certain level of drive and desire and things that people can't really explain, which is why you made the money that you made at a very young age.
Yeah.
And no one can take that away from you, because it's almost something that our parents instilled in us, and or family, and or something that you instilled from yourself from coming from another country. So Emma, I wanted you to dive into that as well, because I think it's important for people to realize that there are some strengths behind the things that are core values that we were brought up with, because without those things we wouldn't be where we're at. So
Right. So I moved to America from Ireland in 2003. So the reason I came over here, well, I was working at a computer company. My background is IT, and it was during the whole dot-com crash, right? So the company shut down. I had a green card, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go on a little adventure. There's no jobs to be had. I'm just going to go over to America and see what's going on, right?
Yep.
So I hopped on an airplane, came over. I had a bag, and I had a box, and eventually I brought my cat. And that was it, right? I literally, like, if you can imagine someone with their little things going to America. And I arrived here, and I didn't know anybody, not one person. And I didn't have a job. And for the first week, I cried. I'd go to Blockbuster, rent out a movie. And then I was like, okay, back when they had it. And then I was like, okay, I should probably go and, like, maybe get a job. So I got a job at a bar. And I worked there, and I just couldn't believe it. Like, I would come home with, dollar bills. It was a lot of dollar bills. And I was just like, look at all this money I can make here. It was shocking to me. People were just tipping. And I never thought of myself as, I knew I was sociable, but I guess I didn't realize how much I can connect with people, and working at the bar really brought that out. I eventually went back into computers, and then I was just sitting there all day going, oh my God, this is like so boring. Like I can't do this. No offense to computers and IT, but it was because I didn't have the interaction with people.
Right.
And then I met a lady who was opening a mortgage company, and she thought I would be good at being a loan officer. And I was like, sure, I'll be a loan officer. So I quit my IT job, and I became a loan officer. So I would, and then I went back to the bar so I could have some income, right? But I didn't look at it as far as it didn't even dawn on me, you have 2 jobs. To me, it's just what you do, right? Like I would work during the day, go into the office and learn as much as I could learn. And then in the evening, I would go to the bar, I would meet people, and I would do their mortgages. Yeah. Not when they were drunk. They were not drunk when I did it.
Just sign right here.
And, America is one of the only countries, and people may not realize it when they are brought up here and from here, but to someone who who came from a different country, it is one of the only countries you can come to and you can create your own career and future. It's very difficult to do in other countries. And I'm not saying people in other countries are narrow-minded or anything like that, but a lot of weight is placed on, if you're a hard worker and you can go out and you can connect with people and build relationships, people will work with you. It's built on relationships. So that's a little bit about kind of my story.
I always say this is literally the greatest country in the world where making money is easy. There's ways to make money. And I think to your point, whether you're first generation or second generation in this country, what we have an advantage is we either, like Emma, you experienced the come up, or for me, I got to watch my parents come up, right? Meaning my dad, when he was in South Korea, what he studied for and what he did with the National Army there, he was a mechanical engineer. But none of his degrees and certifications were accepted here. So he couldn't get a job as a mechanical engineer. So he literally worked at construction sites moving gravel. He moved gravel from one side of the site to the other for 5 years. Never complained about anything. And that's where I think we have an advantage of fear, right? Mm-hmm. Fear, one of my favorite people ever, Nelson Mandela, but one of his favorite quotes, he talks about fear. And people that are courageous, it's not that they have an absence of fear, it's that they've overcome fear. And I always think about, especially being a 90s kid in Chicago, you think about the Bulls and the triangle offense. It's for me, I'm not afraid. I want to take the shot, right? And especially when the game's on the line, I want to take that shot. Not because I have such confidence in my shot making ability, but more so because I know if I miss, I'm so confident that I can get that offensive rebound, right? And what happens when you get the offensive rebound? You get another 24 seconds to run your offense. I know if I have enough 24 seconds chances, I'm going to eventually score. If this market completely tanks and crashes and I can't be a realtor anymore, I'm okay driving an Uber, picking you up at the airport to take you home. I'm okay making your cafecito at Starbucks. I have no shame in that, right? Because that's just me grabbing an offensive rebound, giving myself another 24 seconds to get back on my feet and run my offense. A lot of people, they let that fear get in their way, right? And they don't even want to take that first step into something new, right?
Right.
That's the difference. And having, whether it's bartending from 5 to 9, so then you can focus on originating loans from 9 to 5, or watching my dad be a laborer for 5-6 years when I know this guy is like a genius, right? And he's a mechanical engineer. That stuff helps. It's in your DNA and helps you take that first step, right? That's the advantage that I had, was that I bet on myself, right? Because I knew this is America, man. If I need to work at McDonald's, I don't care. I'll do it. I don't care if my friends come in. I have to give them their Filet-O-Fish, right? That's cool, right? Because just wait, right? Wait a couple of years from now, I'm going to be doing something big, right? Just buying that time.
Yeah, and I feel like all individuals have that little voice in their head that kind of tells them the direction that they want to go. But like you said, fear is the one thing that drives people away from the goals that they're actually trying to obtain and achieve. But for you guys, I know that you guys both transitioned. How did that transition look from the career that you guys were going to, and obviously from another country, but how did that transition look like from the career that you guys were at and then going into a job where your paycheck is solely dependent on the amount of work that you put into your careers?
It's, you have to. So for us, it was very calculated, meaning, I got to that story I shared with you. That was in February 2006. I knew, I'm like, I got to do something. And it was in December of that year, 2006, where I got licensed. Now, Josh and I, my business partner, it wasn't until June of 2007 that we went full time, right? So part of that was because, one, we needed to have that runway. We want to be calculated about it. That's how I tell new agents that are doing the same balancing. I'm like, you got to have reserves. You have to understand how much you need to survive, because it might not be a year until you see a commission check come in, right? But the other part of it is during that time, just like what Emma did, I always say you have to have while you have your 9 to 5, you got to have a 5 to 9. So you need to juggle both and keep building and stacking those wins so that you can get to that. So that's a huge piece of setting yourself up for success in this industry, to make sure that you're balancing both, but also having an end in mind, knowing that I want by this time frame be full-time in real estate.
Right. And I wasn't too nervous about the change in income, to be honest, because I'm a worker. I've always worked, right? And I was going to continue to work. Like whatever it takes, I'll do it, So I need to work evenings, I need to work weekends, I'll do that. So that's what I did. And then I remember I was offered a draw on commission. And I was like, no. I was like, I need to have my back against the wall. I don't want any draw. I don't want to feel comfortable. Let me feel uncomfortable, because then I'll go the extra mile. So that's what I did. That's what I do.
No, I love that. I feel like in order for you to be successful, though, your back has to be against the wall. Because when your back is against the wall, you will figure it out. It's almost like one of those mindset things that one of my biggest coaches is Reno, obviously the owner of our company, and he tells me all the time, when you have a time limit, right? You have 20 minutes to do something that usually takes you an hour, your mind will turn into gear mode and you'll figure out how to figure out the rest. You'll always figure out how to get to the end result, even though you think that it usually takes you an hour. Your mind's a powerful thing, and that's what's actually going to make you continue to push yourself when your back is actually against the wall.
Hey, thank you so much for watching this video thus far. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and you can watch our future videos. Now it's time to go back to the show.
All right, guys, we're back. And honestly, one of the main things that I kind of wanted to touch base on today is just being able to achieve a goal that you yourself probably at some point in time didn't really realize that you could achieve. And one of the biggest things that I actually want to share to you, Tommy, was during that Now Rep event, I don't think you realized it, but for me, you impacted my life in a way that I couldn't. Yeah, it was crazy. When you were on the stage speaking. So when we were talking about networking, and I'll kind of dive into it, when I was actually getting into the business, right, the climb to get to where I was at was exactly what you told the crowd of Now Rep. And to give a background to everybody, what he was just kind of explaining was the tool of networking and how he kind of grew his business, meeting people each and every day. And I'll let you share a little bit on it. But the reason why I bring that up is because that's kind of how I want to be able to share my story to people the way that you did that day, so that way they could see that their goals are obtainable, right? Because for a while, I didn't think my goals were really obtainable. It was just put your head down and work. Yeah. And for me, I would go every single day, okay, let me meet one realtor. Let me meet two realtors. Let me meet an attorney. Let me meet an insurance agent. And I was just meeting people just so I could see what people were doing in order to generate business. And a long time, I ended up generating business just because I started meeting people.
Right.
And so when you spoke about, I don't know if you want to touch base on what you're kind of speaking about now, if you remember the situation, but you were just speaking about meeting people and the importance of networking. So
it's so important, and thank you for sharing that testimony. You know, I'm going to make another basketball NBA analogy here. I apologize for anyone that is not into sports. I try to be cognizant of that. But, like, you know, there's like every realtor has this transformation. When they first get into this industry, a good chunk of the ones that see success right away, I call them, they're like the Allen Iverson realtor, the AI, just working on God-given talent. Doesn't need to practice, can show up game day hungover, but still drop 40 points, right? Because he was such a talented player. And that was me at one point, where I was just like, we were just answering calls and emails. I want to buy. Like, cool. We're running around, like going deal to deal and deal. We weren't lead generating, prospecting, building up our pipeline. And then you hit the ceiling where you start to plateau, and then you realize you got to become like a Steph Curry, right? A person that wasn't physically gifted, not the biggest person in the room, but what made him so good is his shot-making ability. And it was not because he had this God-given talent. He had the talent, but he was a guy, when you do the research, he was taking 500 shots a day. He wouldn't leave a gym until he swished 100 free throws in a row. Swish, not just make, like swish them, right? He worked on it daily, and that daily practice compounded into this ability of being one of the greatest shooters in NBA history. You hit the ceiling as a realtor, you go from AI, you need to transform into the Steph Curry, and that only happens when you stay consistent with activity. And so the first thing is you got to track. You have to track where your business comes from, right? I always say, just because you wear a Fitbit doesn't mean you're fit, right? I've tried it, right? And I'm still chubby. Why a Fitbit is such a powerful tool is because it tells you data and tracks for you. And when you can use that data and apply it, you see even compounding results. When you track where your business comes from, what that lead source was, and you start to see a pattern of, wow, 60% of my business is coming from a sphere of influence. Well, now you know, if you want to double your business next year, just double what you did to get those sphere of influence deals, right? And so that's what happened. And I realized me getting face-to-face with people every day was what would generate more business. And so I made it a goal to meet 365 new people a year, right? One new person a day. I've done it for the last 10 years, right? Now I do like 2 a day. And the goal in this is it transforms your business from being like a real estate business to a people business, right? Generally speaking, you should be closing and converting about 10% of your database, okay? I love it when people come to me and go, hey, I want to talk to you because I'm tapped out on my database, my sphere. I've gotten the most I can. I need to figure out like Zillow leads or something like that. I'm like, you've what? You've tapped out your database? No. If that's the case, well, then you need to add more people to your database, right? I know, Josh and I know, we convert about 12% of our database annually. So when we goal set for next year, it's not how many homes we need to find to list or how many buyers. It's how many people do we need to back up into our goal. So I know that this year we needed to meet face-to-face 324 new people to put into our database, touch, market properly, and that would transfer into 10% more deals, right? That would be 32 more deals that we would get this year. It becomes a people business, and it's relationship driven. So when you focus in on that, once you track your data, you just know exactly what you need to focus on. The challenging part about our industry, it's just like, if you want to lose weight, which I don't know really what that's like, but you think about the diet industry and why it's $1 billion industry. If I wanted to lose 10 pounds, I could join CrossFit, eat keto, whatever that means, right? I can do Orange Theory. I can buy a Peloton. And what do we all do? We try and do 4 or 5 things at once because we want a shortcut to the results. And that leads to burnout. That's why it's such a lucrative industry, because people burn out, they'll try something new and whatnot. Our business is the same thing. Everyone tries to do 3 or 5 different lead generation sources, right? Like, I'm going to do Zillow leads, I'm going to door knock, I'm going to do open houses, I'm going to do face-to-faces, whatnot. And what happens? It leads to burnout. People are burnt out, they're frustrated, and they think, worst of all, that it's them. They're not talented, they're not cut out to be in this industry. They're focused on too many things. You need to just focus on that one thing. I know if I just focus on getting 10,000 steps every single day, I would probably lose 10 pounds, right? I might not do it in 7 days. Maybe I'll do it in 30 days, but I'll know the result will come. If you focus on being a relationship-driven business, and for me, it was just one new person a day, I knew whether it's in a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, those results would show up, right? And they showed up into becoming a $100 million producing team year over year, right? So it's focusing on that versus doing on the other stuff. Now, it doesn't mean Zillow leads don't work. It doesn't mean door knocking, cold calling, FSBOs doesn't work. It works. I have friends that do it at a very high level. But for me, going back to my story of finding joy and doing what makes me happy, that doesn't make me happy. I start pitting out and sweating when I have to cold call someone that I don't know, right? I did that for 4 years. For me, it's being face-to-face with someone, building that relationship, right? That's what gets me happy and excited, and that's what brings me the results.
And I love that. And I know one thing that you always speak about is food, and you're a big foodie. And when it comes to networking, that was the biggest thing on how you like to meet individuals. And I'm the same exact way. Obviously, me is cafecito and coffee.
Yeah.
But that's one of the big things that I do like to have, those break bread moments. But one thing that I found interesting is that you built your network to the point where you meet individuals where I'm like, dude, when I saw this on your page, I was like, dude, I see the Ryan Serhans of the world. You see the Kobe Bryants of the world, and you meet these individuals, and it's bound. It's like you have to meet these individuals when your network is so big. You meet 365 people in a day. A year. Of course, you're gonna eventually meet these individuals. So how was that journey like? How eventually?
It's great. You know what? Can I share some tactics with your audience?
Yeah.
You want to you want to pop the hood of the car?
Yeah.
I'll show you how the engine runs. Here's the deal, right? You gotta get these at bats face to face with people. First of all, you have to. Right, we always talk about, what is it, like 66 days to build a habit or something like that. For me, I'm always looking for the hack. I want to work smarter, not harder. So for me, I'm going to work around my life so that I have the built-in habit already. So what does that mean? 1, I have to eat lunch. I have to eat lunch, 1, because that's how I survive, fuel my body. And 2, I get hangry. I'm the most miserable person to be around when I'm hangry, right? So for people around me, I have to eat lunch, okay? That's an activity I choose not to do by myself. I'm not going to get a salad and eat. I'm not going to get a salad, period. But I'm not going to get a salad or sandwich and eat at my desk and work, right? I'm going to do that with someone. I'm going to break bread, okay? Then, because I don't work out, my body doesn't produce natural endorphins, so I have to manufacture them through caffeine, right? So at 3 o'clock every single day, I need coffee. That's another thing. I'm not going to get a coffee, sit at my desk, sip it, answer emails. I'm going to sit and have coffee with someone. That's what I'm talking about. It's built around my lifestyle, so the habit is already there. I'm doing these 2 things anyways, so I might as well figure out 2 people to do it with, okay? Now, you've set the mindset and the foundation around it. How do you get these 2 people? You got to start changing the way you ask questions when you lead generate. We're still very heavy on the phone lead generating, but it's our sphere of influence, right? Our data bank, we call it. So 9/11 is our when we call every single day, Monday or Tuesday through Fridays. So when we do that, right, the normal thing to do is always ask for a referral, right? It's like, hey, Emma, it's Tommy. Like, we have a huge goal, serve 100 or sell $150 million of real estate this year. Who do you know is going to buy? So, right, we already know that script. And it's important to ask that. We ask that. And a lot of the times it's like, Emma's like, oh, man, TC, you're my guy. oh man, I can't think of anyone right now, but obviously I'm going to send you the referral, right? I express my gratitude. Of course, I know that, Emma, and you know what? I put you on the spot. When I'm on the spot, I turn like a deer in headlights. My brain freezes. I'm like, oh, I don't know. And I know as soon as we hang up, you might think of one or two people, and I know you know how to intro them to me, right? But let me ask you a simpler question. Who's someone in your world that you just love being around, right? Just a good human being that you can introduce to me, because you know me, I just love being around good people, right? And once again, now I put Emma on the spot. She's like, oh man, oh, good question. I give a little hint. I give 2 nudges. I'm like, let me help you out, because I just put you in the spot again. Who's someone at work when you're about, like, it's like 11 o'clock and you're starting to get hungry and you're thinking about lunch? Who's the person you're like slacking, saying, hey, you want to like go grab lunch at 11:30? Or when you have like a happy hour or work event, who's the person you're texting saying like, hey, wait for me, we'll walk into this event together? Now Emma's like, oh my gosh, that's like Susie, Jim, Nick, whatever, right? Have I ever met them? No, and they're like my favorite people. I can't believe you guys haven't met. Like, can I have an introduction? Sure, I would love to introduce you. That's how you get those at-bats, right? It's reframing how you want to just meet people. Then, now my favorite thing is this, okay? Once Emma makes those intros, and there's going to be haters watching this, be like, why would she intro just random strangers? Well, because my personal brand is so strong, because Emma understands, because I'm a good friend and a great human being to her, and I've made so many deposits into her life, she wants the same for the people that are important in her life. And she knows, like, yeah, dude, I want to connect these people with TC. So when those intros come, the first thing I do is I Facebook stalk, okay? And the reason why, type in first name, last name, enter on the search bar. And when their profile pops up, I go scroll to one part only, friends, and I look for friends in common. And if I see it's like 1 or 2 or 0, I am salivating at my mouth. I'm like, get me in front of this person. Like, I love this, right? Because now you're getting into a new network.
Yeah.
Right? So then when we set up this face-to-face, and usually I'll do a coffee for these, okay? Part 3 is you need to have a game plan going into it. What are you going to talk about, okay? You have to be, so there's 2 objectives. Objective number 1 is I'm basically interviewing this person to make sure this person's not a jerk or an asshole. Because if they're a jerk or an asshole, that's the last meeting. I don't need the jerks in my life, right? That's it. Number 2, when you've just figured out that this person is actually a good person you want to establish a relationship with, you need to figure out ways to make deposits into their lives, right? Provide value. And how you do that is I follow very traditional model script, Ford model, F-O-R-D, right? Mm-hmm. Family, occupation, recreation, dreams. I ask questions along those lines, right? Like, tell me, like, Emma, are you married, partner, children, pets, whatever, right? I'm asking about that. And I'm taking notes on all this, okay? Occupation, I'm like, how long have you been a loan officer? Like, do you like being at neighborhood loans? Like, what did you do before, right? I'm asking genuine questions about that. Recreation, what do you like to do for fun? Like, where's your favorite places to travel? What do you do? What'd you do this weekend, right? You're figuring out what their personality is. You're taking notes on that. Then dreams, now you're going to figure out one aspirational question to ask on that category, right? Now, let's say, Emma was saying, and she would never say this because she loves working where she does, but like, oh man, I'm just not happy with what I'm doing, right? I'm like, what's your dream job? What's something you really want to do, okay? The beauty in all this is it comes to a point where when someone's asking you a lot of questions, you start to figure out and trigger like, man, I'm such an asshole. I'm not even asking this person any questions about themselves, mm-hmm. right? So that'll trigger them to ask like, dude, what do you do for a living? Like, tell me about whatever. But more importantly, all these answers to all these questions, they're deposit slips that Emma's just handed me on how I can provide value, okay? I'm going to give you a real life example on this, okay? I met with, this is probably 2012, 11, 12, Mark. And I was introduced to him, me doing that same thing, like, hey, who's someone like at work, blah, blah, blah. His coworker, Evan, connected me with Mark. This is a great guy. And it's funny because Evan connected me and he told me like, hey, just a heads up, TC, Mark, he just bought like a $2.5 million crib. I don't think he's moving anytime soon. Which I told him, like, dude, cool. That's awesome. You know, this isn't about that. I just want to meet good people. Oh, he's the best. So that's not a problem. So we meet, go through the Ford model. Turns out recreationally, he loves going on hikes. He's like a avid hiker. I didn't even know that's something that is a hobby for people, right? To me, that's torture. But he loves going on hikes. So I asked him an aspirational question, dream. I'm like, what's your like dream hike? He's like, it's not one, it's many. I'm like, tell me about this. He's like, I want to go rent an RV and go to every national park west of the Mississippi and go on every hike. I'm just like, wow, that's incredible, right? Took notes down. Loved meeting him. Great person. Follow up is key, right? I follow up after the meeting with a handwritten note, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make a small deposit. Because he shared such an aspirational dream with me, I went on Amazon and bought, I think it was like $1.99. It cost more to ship this thing to him than to acquire. I bought a toy Matchbox car. It was a small, like, Winnebago. Mailed it to him with a handwritten note just expressing my gratitude and saying, like, hey, here's like a little visualization for you to look at. Hopefully one day you get to actually step into the real thing. Fast forward 2020, summer 2020, what was everyone doing in the pandemic? They're renting RVs, going to national parks. Mark went on his dream trip, and at every national park sign, he sent me a selfie with him holding the little RV.
Oh.
And he's like, I did it, okay? Mark, throughout that time, since 2011 to 2020, he's referred me 20 buyers. They all have bought $1 million homes. It probably about $30 to $40 million in sales volume, right? He's a successful person. He hangs out with successful people. And he referred me. He's never worked with me, still to this day. I know when he wants to sell, he's going to call me. But that small deposit, basically saying, hey, I listened and I actually cared, and here's a little reminder and a little push for you, from being face-to-face, led to $30-40 million in sales volume, right?
Right.
That's the power of relationship, right? And it didn't stop there. Of course, I invited him to events because he's a friend of mine. Like, I genuinely, that's the beauty in this. When you are intentional and purposeful on who you choose to meet with and surround yourself with, it's not like you're prospecting for clients, right? You're literally building relationships with people you like, and you're building friendships. And I'm invited to their life events, right? And vice versa. And through that, the real estate stuff follows those opportunities and at-bats. So that's literally how I break down, and I do these face-to-faces.
I got a question, though. So, like, my biggest thing is, let's say database, right? You call your database,
Yeah.
okay, every day, blah, blah, blah. And you meet with a random person that your database referred to, right? I guess how do you get the people to be willing to just meet with you, number one? And number two, when they get there, are they just like, bro, what's the point of this meeting? Like, why am I meeting you? Like, what's the point? Why, are you trying to get a sale? Or are you trying to get, like, how do you
Great question.
Get divert away
Yeah.
from that,
So great question. So number one, like I mentioned, right, it's because I've made, okay, we'll back it up. I'll drop another major key here. Relationships, for me, how I've broken down relationships to me. When I meet someone for the first time, and I pull up to this meeting, and I see this person, they look like an ATM machine to me, okay? And for those millennials that are listening, ATM is like a physical Venmo, okay? We used to go to these things. You still can, and you get, when you put your card in, punch in your code, there's two options you have, right? Deposit or withdrawal, right? Same thing when it comes to relationships. When you meet someone you enjoy and you want to build a relationship with, you have two choices in that moment. I can make a withdrawal and ask for something and take, or I can make a deposit into that person's life, right? And make a deposit of value. For me, I choose to lead with deposits, right? For me, I want to make 2 or 3 deposits before I make a withdrawal, because when I've established that foundational piece of relationship and providing value, okay, when I get to make that withdrawal, I'm not taking. I've gotten the permission from that person to make a withdrawal. And I'm not taking $20 out of this relationship. I'm maxing out the daily limit on this because they've given me the permission to, because they see so much value in me, in my friendship, in this relationship, okay? The problem with when you lead with the withdrawal and take is that it's not that it's bad, but if you forget to give and make these deposits, what eventually happens? You get that message, NSF, insufficient funds, right? You have no more money left, nothing left in this account to withdraw from. When you get to that point in a relationship, it's nearly impossible to make that back. You can't just make deposits. That account gets closed. We all have those people in our lives. Those are the people that call, you see it, and you just hit send, end call, right? Because you're thinking like, man, what does this guy want now? Yeah. Takers, right? You want to make sure that you're making those deposits, filling that account in the relationship. So to answer your question, with that foundational mindset there, when I call Emma, she's someone who I've made deposits into. If they're in my database, I'm making deposits. So Emma loves me, right? I'm not just her realtor. I'm someone who constantly provides value, not showering her with gifts, not because I take her out to eat or I buy her drinks, but because I'm genuinely providing value. I'm figuring out ways when we meet, I get deposit slips. I'm like, cool. She wants to work at Google. I'm going to connect her with my friend that works at Google. He may not get her a job, but guess what? I just got her one step closer to that opportunity, right? So it's making those deposits. Now, because I've done that for Emma, when I ask her to connect me with someone that's important in her world, she wants to do it because she knows how much value I provided her. She wants me to do the same for someone else that's important in her life. So she tees up that opportunity. That's why the stranger is willing to meet, because they're like, dude, Emma speaks so highly of you. Like, I'd love to meet. Some people come in thinking exactly like, okay, what's your sales pitch, right? And they have this apprehension. I love that, because in my head, I'm thinking like, dude, you don't even realize I'm about to break you down and mold you back up, right? Because it's not about any pitch. I just want to figure out. And sometimes those people become jerks, right? And it's cool. I'm like, you know what? I'm so glad we met, right? But now I know, mental note, I don't need to establish a relationship with this person. But the ones that once I get to break down and mold back up and they realize, okay, there is no angle, there is no sales pitch. This dude's just a really good person. We have stuff in common. Once I'm able to make a deposit into their life, they realize like, man, what a nice, kind gesture. Now they're looking for opportunities to do the same for me, right? That might be real estate. That might be inviting me to an event or a party with them. Cool, right? It's figuring out ways I can constantly make deposits.
Right. No, I love that. I love that. And I guess another thing I want to shine light is once you meet individuals, right? I guess because once you get to a certain point, right, you meet 362 people in a year, like it becomes kind of redundant. Like, I guess it's different individuals, but when it comes to the point where you meet individuals, high classified individuals like the Ryan Serhans of the world, how was that experience, right? What did you do when you walk into these rooms or doing things? Because I know a lot of times it may feel like they're big individuals, but then you meet them, they're human, right? They're obviously
totally
human beings. But when you meet these individuals, did you come in a certain way, or how did you even get in the room with these people? You know, like,
great question. You know, it's all like power by proximity, right? It's people that I know that I made deposits, and that's their way of making deposits. Be like, hey, why don't you come hang out and have dinner? Like, this is like a homie of mine, right? Now, when I go into those meetings, it's the same thing. I don't like. Sure, there's a lot of times where, you know, some people I do like really look up to them, and I'm excited to be there, but not like I'm not there because like I'm like there to kiss the ring or worship the ground they work on. But one, it's, you hit it on the head, treating them like a human. That's what I've learned, because they are just like us, right? They just have a greater platform and a wider net of an audience. But I like to be very intentional and just always share and express like, hey, like, just like what you did for me, right? That testimony, I always like to share like, hey, there's this thing you said or you did that really inspired me, and this is how I, you know, applied it. And so I just want to say thank you, right? Because one, that's a very like, it's a humbling moment to be like, wow, I really impacted this person, right? And then usually the doors are open, and then they'll ask questions, right? One of my favorite authors in the world, his name's Adam Grant, okay? I got opportunity because, once again, right, I made deposits, building relationships to interview him. And I got to be one-on-one with Adam Grant, and that's exactly what I did. I shared with him that that's actually a book called Give and Take he wrote about givers and takers, right? That I clearly like has been a foundational piece of my business. And so I shared that with him and told him how that inspired me. Now, like, our business is built around relationships and giving and whatnot. And he was blown away by it, right? And he loved it. And the guard was down. He was asking me about, like, what do you, like, tell me more about your business, blah, blah, blah. Asking me questions about his next book. What do I think and whatever, right? And then you build this, like, friendship, right, together, right? So it's like those opportunities when you have, be able to be in a room with a powerful person. I think as long as you don't psych yourself out into thinking like, okay, like this is my one shot, I need it, whatever. Yeah. You just treat them like a human being and you come from a place of gratitude, you'll see that reciprocated back.
I love it. And I want to wrap everything up and first and foremost say thank you guys both for coming on. It was a pleasure to have both you guys individuals on the show. And number two, I do look up to both of you individuals and kind of being that person for other individuals to inspire people, because I think that's my overall goal in some point in my career, to inspire other individuals and allowing them to see that what we're doing is not something that we're some superpower human being that someone else can't do. Everyone has the ability to do it, but it's tapping into it and being able to inspire other people to tap into their inner selves to be able to do so. So I want to thank both you guys for your guys' time. I know it's very valuable. So again, thank you for everything that you guys have shined light on. And if you guys have not yet liked and subscribed, go ahead and do so right now. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. I hope everyone has, number one, your cafecito and an amazing day. Take care.